Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's episode in the Get Unstuck series with myself, Sarah Archer. If you haven't come along to one of these before, I created them because when I worked as an HR director, I didn't have the time to think about what was going on in my career, in my leadership development, and so I wanted to create a little window for you to have some time to think about some of the things that are important to you as a leader. And so I run these sessions every 2 weeks. They are around 15 minutes in length and they're always practical. So there'll be something you can take away and implement straight away. And there are lots of back episodes, if that's the right word, in the events section on my LinkedIn profile if there are things you want to listen to that you missed. Plus, I have a podcast, Unstuck and Unstoppable, which covers the same topics. Obviously, you can consume that content when you are at the gym or walking your dog or however you like to listen to your podcast. I will put a link to that in the comments too. And so I'm a leadership and career coach. I've been a coach now for around 16 years plus, I think. And I predominantly work with female leaders to help them create career success that's right for them. And I love helping female leaders get more impact and influence in what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, or get to that next level in their career, or help them change career as well if that's something that's on the cards for them. So let's dive into today's session, which is all about how to be a resilient leader in uncertain times. And if you are watching live, please do say hello, give me a little wave, or say hi in the comments, maybe let me know where you're watching from. I am using StreamYard, which means sometimes I can't always see the links in comments, but if you are here, please do say hello. It's always nice to know people are with me. Now, obviously, you don't need me to tell you that, the workplace is constantly changing, and it's such a rapid pace now. So restructuring, new technologies, hybrid working, how do I lead my team when I'm not present with my team, shifting expectations from team, Generation Z, and what their expectations are of their leaders and organisations. And that uncertainty can feel endless, can't it? And previously we've talked about the VUCA world, so volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. We're now learning there's a new acronym that's been around for a couple of years, which is BANI. So that's brittle, anxious, non-linear, and what's the last one? Incomprehensible. Now, I find this description slightly more anxiety inducing. I'm just going to very briefly run through what that means. So the B is brittle, which is that realization that actually our world is quite fragile. So that's around kind of nature, biodiversity, climate change, but also the economy and also peace. So recognizing our world actually is quite fragile, quite brittle. The anxiety is around that lack of control that we have of that situation of our world being quite fragile and quite brittle. The non-linear piece is that illusion of predictability. So recognizing actually there is no straight line from A to B. It's not predictable. You can't, again, kind of control that journey. It's going to be unknown in lots of ways. And then incomprehensible, again, is that kind of illusion of knowledge, because the more we know, the more we realise we don't know that much, and the world is a mystery. And I think particularly with the kind of advent of AI and how fast that is progressing, actually recognising that our knowledge is quite limited, but there is this kind of development of this technology that can access enormous amounts of knowledge. So I find BANI actually more scary than VUCA. It'd be great to know what you think about it. And in a way, we just have to take that as a recognition of the environment in which we as leaders are operating. And it's helpful to recognise that actually a lot of people are experiencing the same thing that we're experiencing. Because as leaders, we're not just managing our own stress, are we? We're also supporting our teams. We're having to drive performance. We're also trying to stay positive ourselves and look after our own well-being. And I wanted to just share a couple of client stories with you to help you recognise you're not alone. Because obviously, when we're trying to do all of that, what can happen is that we can feel incredibly overwhelmed. We can experience decision fatigue. We can experience change fatigue. We can recognise that our team morale is, dipping, and we're responsible for managing and supporting that. And there's obviously burnout is the inevitability if we're not being resilient leaders. So one of my clients that I've been working with recently is a chief marketing officer, and she has experienced a huge amount of change over the last 18 months in her organisation. So within her department, there has been a number of restructures. They've also had a number of big projects to manage, so a complete rebranding, new website, and also a new culture piece and behaviours sitting under her remit too. Plus there's been issues of reputational risk and new people coming into her team because she's been managing out poor performance. So she and I have been working on how does she lead her new team and her existing team successfully, because it's a bit like we've kind of created this analogy of a football match, so a lot of the players have been on for 90 minutes and it's just gone to extra time, and 3 new players have come onto the pitch and they've got lots of energy, they're hugely motivated and they're ready to kind of get out there and do lots, whereas the team that's been on the pitch for 90 minutes are just exhausted. And so how does she manage both of those people, the existing team members who've been slogging away, delivering all this change in this uncertainty, and then the new people who've been brought in who are really keen and enthusiastic? So that's what we've been looking at. The other senior leader that I've been working with, I wanted to talk to you about, is someone again who's been in the organisation for around 15 months. She came in to deliver significant projects because there've been financial issues in the organisation, but she has a chief executive who is constantly changing his priorities, changing his mind, and she's had to navigate that while trying to embed these new projects. And it's how she's been able to do that without kind of being pushed into burnout because of the volume of workload and the decision fatigue that she's experiencing. So I wanted to share those 2 stories so you can recognise that you are not alone if you are managing different kinds of uncertainty, different kinds of change in your organisation. And as leaders, we don't always have all the answers, but we have to be able to find our resilience. And I'm going to share 3 simple areas to focus on and strategies that you could think about taking away and putting into place to help yourself. And it's a bit like that, when you're on a plane, you have to put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help other people. And so the first area is to think about your emotional resilience, because resilient leaders take care of themselves first so that they can support other people. And that means thinking about how you stay calm, how you manage your reactions to difficult situations, difficult scenarios, and how you look after your energy. So recognizing when you need help, when you need support, and practicing self-care and self-compassion for yourself. And so my quick tip here is to think about using a pause practice. So that is just before reacting in a difficult situation, is just press pause and to use your breath. So to take at least 1 breath, ideally 3, before you respond, because then that allows you to move from reactivity and a knee-jerk reaction into responding with more clarity. And obviously it also helps reset your nervous system, because your fight, flight, freeze response might be kicked in, and you don't want to be stuck in that because of the drain physically on your body of having those hormones that are triggered coursing around your body. And using breath can be a really effective way of managing that. So the way you can think about using that, so say you going into a senior leadership team meeting and you know there's a peer that always knows which buttons to press to get you to react. Going in knowing, actually, I'm going to pause before I respond to that particular person, and just practicing that pause technique before you respond. Or it might be taking 5. So someone's come into your office, this has just happened, we need a decision now. Recognizing it's okay to go, give me 5 minutes, I just want to have a time to think about this particular situation. Because we're so programmed to respond to decisions like that in stressful situations, which sometimes is needed, but actually our quality of decision making is much higher when we've got that opportunity to pause and think clearly, reflect before we make that decision. So that's our first one, is that emotional resilience, thinking about what you need and giving yourself a bit of space before you respond to things. Our second one is having an adaptive mindset, because resilient leaders see uncertainty not as a threat, but as an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to innovate. And so what we want to try and do as a leader is to reframe uncertainty into opportunity. Now, I think this is the hardest one to do, but I've got a little question that you can use to help yourself. So this is about shifting your self-talk. So sometimes when we're in a stressful situation, we might be thinking, why me? Why now? What have I done to deserve this? And just that kind of thinking that is about, oh God, this is not a good time. This is not a good situation that I'm in. And flipping it to think, what can I learn here? So just moving from why now, why me, into what can I learn? And it's just having that kind of conscious thinking, because sometimes our default thinking kicks in, and what we want to do when we're consciously trying to reframe something is bring it more into our awareness. So that might be even just something very simple of writing that question, what can I learn here, onto a post-it that you can see, just to remind yourself if something comes up, how can I see this as more of an opportunity than a threat. So just being able to practice that. Then our third area is leading with empathy and connection. This is where we can help our teams more, because obviously your team is looking to you for certainty. They're looking for you to be that beacon of calm that's going to help them navigate through whatever challenges they are facing. So there can be a pressure then to feel like I've got to have all the answers for my team. But actually, there's a really simple question that you can ask your team, which is, what do you need from me right now? Because then you're giving them permission to think about, okay, what do I actually need in this situation? Maybe I just need to work at home for a day. Maybe I just need to tell you what I'm doing, but without getting any solutions from you. Maybe I just need to take a walk outside and go and get some fresh air. So it's a really powerful question that you can just use quite regularly with your team, just to check in, what do they need from you right now? You can also use it as a question for yourself, and to ask yourself, what do I need right now in this situation? So it's a powerful question both for you and for your team. So that's 3 tips to help you think about increasing your resilience as a leader, and some techniques that you can use to start engaging with that. So there's the building your emotional resilience and thinking about how you can press pause to give yourself some space in particular situations, or so that you're not reacting. Then there is cultivating an adaptive mindset, so repositioning a challenge as an opportunity to learn and to grow. And there is leading with empathy and connection, and just asking your team, what do they need right now? So I would love to know from you which one of those 3 areas resonated most for you, what you might be wanting to try for yourself right now. I would love to know that. And just to remember, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. It's just about staying steady and stable and supporting your team through the change, but without taking on their burden, giving them agency to take some control and ask for what they need. And just remind yourself, it's putting my oxygen mask on first and looking after myself before I can truly support the people who are working for me and with me. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to continue the conversation with me, drop me a message. I'd love to know more about how you are supporting yourself to be a resilient leader. And I will be back in 2 weeks' time with another topic to help you navigate the leadership challenges that we are all facing in the world today.